In a quiet winter town, buried beneath falling snow, a father raced through the night with fear tightening around his heart. His daughter lay silent in a hospital bed, and only the loyal German shepherd at his side sensed the hidden truth behind her suffering. This is the story of how one small voice saved itself from silence, and how instinct, courage, and love uncovered what human eyes could not see. As you watch, let us know in the comments where you are watching from, and if this story touches your heart, please press subscribe to support this channel and help us bring more meaningful stories to you. Aspen Ridge was a town that looked almost unreal in winter, as if someone had brushed snow across the world with patient strokes of pale paint. Nestled against a pine-covered mountain range, the small community lived through the colder months in a hush of white drifts and amber street lamps. On this night, the air itself seemed frozen. Frost crawled across windows like thin fingers. Snowfall drifted down in soft spirals. The main road, Ridgeway Lane, wound through the town like a narrow river of ice, with only a few tire tracks cutting along its surface. Ethan Merrick drove down that icy road with desperation tight in his chest. Ethan was a man in his mid-30s, tall, broad-shouldered, with the silent bearing of someone who had spent years working in law enforcement. His dark hair was cut short in a practical, military-like style, and faint lines around his eyes suggested nights spent awake, vigilance becoming a habit. He had been a K-9 officer for over a decade before transferring into a local investigation unit. One event had shaped his character into what it was. Years earlier, he'd lost his first K-9 partner to a violent confrontation during a raid. He rarely spoke about it, but the grief burned quietly beneath his calm exterior, forging in him a fierce protectiveness over those he loved. And above all, he loved Lily. Lily Merrick was Ethan's daughter, 8 years old, slight, with light brown hair always clipped back with pastel-colored barrettes and a timid smile that came slowly but sincerely. Her nature was gentle, cautious, and emotionally perceptive. She had inherited Ethan's eyes, soft gray with a hint of storm, but her spirit leaned toward creativity. She liked drawing, crafting tiny animals with felt, and quietly singing songs to herself while walking home from school. She was reserved with strangers, but warm with those she trusted. And for as long as she could form memories, there had been one creature she trusted almost as much as her father, Axel. Axel was a German shepherd, 7 years old, muscular and elegant in that distinctly regal way the breed carried itself. His coat was a deep sable with streaks of golden tan at his legs and muzzle. His ears stood sharp and purposeful, always alert. He had served with Ethan through years of police work, tracking suspects, scent recovery, search missions. To those outside the family, Axel was formidable and disciplined, but around Lily, he behaved like a patient guardian, lowering himself to her height, watching her every move as if cataloging threats unseen by the human eye. Axel had survived the same incident that had claimed Ethan's previous K-9 partner, sustaining injuries that nearly ended his service. After recovery, he transitioned from field work into becoming a family protector. There was an old intelligence in Axel's eyes, not human-like, but something ancient, primal, attentive. And tonight, Axel sensed distress in Ethan long before they reached the hospital doors. Inside the emergency wing of Aspen Ridge Medical Center, a sterile blue-white glow bathed everything in a ghostly sheen. Monitors blinked in steady rhythm. The quiet tick-tick of IV drips punctuated the air. Nurses moved with controlled urgency, like quiet spirits floating between tasks. Ethan burst through the sliding doors with Axel beside him. Axel walked without a leash. Ethan didn't need one. The receptionist, a woman named Maggie Hartwell, late 50s, short, with silver hair clipped neatly and glasses hanging from a beaded chain, looked up in alarm. She recognized both man and dog immediately. Maggie had always carried a calm, grandmotherly demeanor, though she could become sharp as glass when necessary. Tonight, empathy softened her voice. "Ethan, they're stabilizing her. Room 3. He didn't even reply. His throat was too tight. The doors parted, Ethan strode down the corridor, and Axel's paws clicked against the linoleum floors. The room smelled of antiseptic and faint plastic. Lily lay there, tiny, pale, still. Her chest lifted and fell with the assistance of the oxygen tube. A monitor traced her heartbeat in mild fluctuations, and standing beside her was Sabrina Hayes Merrick. Sabrina was in her early 30s, slender, with wavy blonde hair carefully styled, even at this late hour. She dressed impeccably, even now wearing a cream-colored fitted sweater and dark jeans. On the surface, she presented as a concerned stepmother, but there was something in the precision of her appearance, careful makeup, polished tone, that suggested image mattered deeply to her. Sabrina had been raised in a family where outward perfection was expected. Mistakes were hidden, emotions suppressed. Behind her charm, there lived insecurity and a need for control. She had never fully warmed to Lily. She saw herself as a caretaker, yes, but one who expected obedience rather than affection. As Ethan reached Lily's bedside, Sabrina turned, eyes wide with rehearsed relief. "Thank God you're here. It was terrible. She couldn't breathe." Ethan's voice was low. "What happened?" Sabrina's lips parted, and she began to explain, too quickly, too thoroughly, drowning in detail. "She was at home, and I gave her dessert, and she said her throat felt tight, and she started panicking, But in that moment, Axel stepped past Ethan. He moved not to Lily, but directly towards Sabrina. He stared at her with a steady, unbreaking gaze, then emitted a low, restrained growl. It wasn't loud. It wasn't wild. It was instinct. Axel positioned himself between Sabrina and Lily. Sabrina's face twitched, barely perceptible, but Axel noticed. Ethan placed a steady hand on Axel's back, murmuring softly, "Easy." "What is it, boy?" Axel did not break gaze. In that cold room, with the fluorescent lights humming and the breath of humans misting faintly in the wintry air, Ethan felt something small shift inside him. Suspicion had not yet formed, but unease had. A doctor entered, Dr. Marcus Keene, mid-40s, stocky, with the solid calm of someone who had seen decades of emergencies. His beard had gone prematurely gray, but his eyes were warm. He had always been respected in the community for balancing medical professionalism with empathetic candor. He spoke with gentle authority. "She's stable now, Ethan. But I want you to know, she experienced oxygen restriction that wasn't solely caused by an allergic reaction." Ethan stared. Sabrina stared harder. "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. Dr. Keene hesitated briefly, choosing his wording. "There's mild bruising near her upper thorax, nothing indicative of blunt trauma, but consistent with external pressure during respiratory distress." Sabrina protested. You're implying?" Dr. Keene raised a firm hand. "I'm implying nothing. I'm reporting medical findings." Axel gave another quiet growl, just under breath. Ethan looked from Sabrina to Axel to Lily, and felt the winter outside seep beneath the doorframe, an invisible draft of foreboding. Lily's eyelids fluttered faintly, as if in dream or memory. Ethan whispered to her, "Dad's here. You're safe." For the first time that night, Axel turned away from Sabrina and settled down beside Lily's bed, head resting near her hand, and the quiet of the room deepened, heavy and waiting. Outside, snowflakes pressed against the glass of the hospital window, like silent witnesses to the first crack of doubt. Morning in Aspen Ridge rose with a fragile hush, the kind that suggested the world had not fully woken yet. The snowfall of the previous night had eased, leaving smooth, undisturbed layers of white across rooftops, tree branches, and parked cars. The town's air carried the smell of pine resin and cold metal, a winter scent particular to mountain communities. Ethan stood at the hospital window, hands in his jacket pockets, watching plumes of his own breath appear and fade on the glass. He had not slept. Axel rested beside him, alert but calm, nose occasionally twitching as if cataloging every scent in the room. A nurse entered briefly. Her name was Rosa Tilden, a woman in her early 40s, short, with rounded cheeks and soft-spoken mannerisms. Rosa was known in the ward for humming hymns under her breath and comforting children during needles or scans. She paused to check Lily's vitals. "She's doing a little better this morning," Rosa said gently. "Her oxygen levels are normal now. She might wake fully by midday." Ethan nodded in silent gratitude. "Thank you." Once Rosa left, Ethan returned to the bedside. Lily's breathing was steady. Her small fingers lay open on the blanket. Axel slowly rose and placed his muzzle near those fingers, as if marking her scent, reaffirming memory. Protégé, protectee. Ethan's mind churned. He wasn't a man given to paranoia. Years in law enforcement had taught him restraint, to act only when fact displaced doubt. And yet, the image of Axel growling at Sabrina lingered like a shadow refusing to disperse. The door opened again. This time, the arrival was Sabrina herself. Her hair was pulled back into a low ponytail, face scrubbed of makeup. She wore a heavy parka with fur lining around the hood. Her voice came soft, guarded. "How is she?" Ethan didn't look directly at her. "Better, stable." Sabrina sidestepped Axel, clearly uneasy around him now. "I've been thinking about last night. The doctor, the bruising. I know how it looks, but you have to believe me. I didn't hurt her." Ethan's voice remained neutral. "Then help me understand." Sabrina wrung her hands. She resisted eating the dessert, but I thought she was just being moody. She started panicking and I tried to hold her, and her explanation trailed off, faltering under its own weight. Axel's eyes flickered up at her with steady scrutiny. Ethan didn't challenge her. Not yet. He simply said, "Lily might remember more when she wakes. We'll see." Sabrina stiffened, recognizing the implication. Her tone sharpened, though subtly. "You think I'm lying." Ethan's gaze shifted finally, meeting hers with a calm seriousness. "Right now, I think we don't have all the information." Sabrina exhaled sharply. "I would never put her in danger." Ethan stared at her. Intentional or not, something happened. There it was. Not accusation, but unavoidable reality. Sabrina's jaw tightened, but she didn't push further. She murmured something about needing coffee and slipped out the door. The second it closed, Axel rose, walked to the spot where Sabrina had stood, sniffed the air intensely, ears pricked. Ethan watched him, tension slowly sinking deeper beneath his skin. Later that morning, the on-call pediatric specialist arrived, Dr. Henry Duval, late 50s, tall and thin, with a nervous energy that always made him seem in a hurry, even when calm. He adjusted his spectacles and looked over Lily's chart. Dr. Duval was known for speaking in careful, measured tones, a habit perhaps cultivated from decades working with worried parents. "Her vitals are improving nicely," he said. "However, I reviewed the imaging again. The pressure marks are faint but clearly present. They are located in the sternum and lower throat region." Ethan processed this steadily. "And that would come from—" "What?" Dr. Duval answered without drama. "From someone holding her tightly, enough to restrict breathing. Not violent shaking, not choking, more like compressive restraint." The words hovered in the air, factual, clinical, undeniable. Ethan nodded slowly. "Thank you, doctor." When Dr. Duval exited, Ethan finally sank into the chair beside Lily and covered his face with his hands. Axel lay at his feet, gaze fixed upward. To an outside observer, it might have seemed like Ethan was praying. Maybe he was. Hours passed. Snow melted slightly on the window edges, dripping like pale tears. Around noon, Rosa returned and smiled softly. "Looks like someone's waking up." Ethan straightened immediately. Lily's eyes fluttered open, hazy at first, then slowly focusing. Ethan leaned forward, voice barely above a murmur. "Hey, sweetheart. You're okay now?" Lily blinked a few times. Her voice came out hoarse. "Daddy?" Ethan felt relief flood him. "I'm here." Axel lifted his head and licked Lily's hand, a low rumble of comfort sounding in his chest. Lily gave a tiny smile. She attempted to sit up, and Ethan gently steadied her. "Easy. Take your time." After a little water and rest, Lily whispered, "I was scared." Ethan's voice softened. "I know, but you're safe." Lily looked around. Her expression changed slightly, something clouding her eyes. "Is she here?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. Sabrina came by earlier. She stepped out for a bit. Lily swallowed. She didn't speak more, not yet. Ethan let it be. By evening, Lily was strong enough to speak in longer sentences. 2 hospital staff members entered. One was Rosa, the other was Detective Marshall Crane. the head investigator of the town's police unit and longtime colleague of Ethan. Marshall Crane was early 50s, thick-set, with a graying beard and a tired yet steady demeanor. He was known for patience and intuition, two traits that made him effective in difficult interviews. Ethan trusted him. Rosa explained kindly, "We need to ask Lily a few questions. It's routine, just to understand what happened before we treat this as allergy alone." Ethan nodded. He turned to Lily. "They'll just ask what you remember. You can answer only what you want to. I'll be right here." Axel lay at Lily's bedside, his head resting on his paws, ears alert. Marshall sat gently at Lily's eye level. His voice was quiet. "Lily, can you tell me what happened before you couldn't breathe?" Lily hesitated, biting her lip, eyes darting briefly toward the door, as if expecting Sabrina to appear. Marshall added, "You're safe. You're not in trouble. Just tell the truth." Lily finally whispered, "She was upset with me. I didn't want to eat, and I said, 'Please no.' And she..." Lily's breathing grew rapid. Marshall paused, waited. Lily said, tears forming, "She held me too tight. I said I can't breathe. But she kept saying, 'Don't make a fuss.'" Ethan closed his eyes. Axel rose, pressing against Lily's side. Marshall's tone remained calm, almost fatherly. "You're very brave, Lily." Ethan spoke next, with tenderness. "You did nothing wrong." Lily nodded, trembling. "I cried, but she said I was exaggerating. And I... Ethan gently stroked her hair. "It's okay. You did your best." Marshall closed his notebook. "That's enough for today." When Marshall and Rosa left the room, Ethan remained at Lily's side. Axel, too, unwavering. Outside, night fell again, and snow resumed its descent, soft, delicate, endless. Winter was not cruel, but it was truthful. It revealed things slowly, steadily. And that night, Ethan finally allowed a new thought to take shape in his mind. Not certainty yet, not full knowledge, but a readiness to pursue the truth, whatever it turned out to be. Aspen Ridge at night always seemed deeper than other places, as though the dark carried extra weight in this mountain valley. Snow-muted sound, absorbing footsteps and muffling distant engines. When Ethan pulled into the driveway of his house, the tires crunched softly, and Axel stood in the back seat, ears perked, tail still, nose near the window, as though tracking unseen currents of scent and memory. The Merrick home was small but warm, a 2-story deep blue house with white shutters and a narrow porch currently half buried under snowdrift. Ethan had chosen this house for its quiet location, its small fenced yard, and the way sunset light used to filter through the back trees in autumn. But tonight, the house looked like a fragile ornament placed in a field of ice, a house with secrets sealed inside. Ethan stepped out first, Axel leaping down beside him. His boots sank in powder. The night felt heavy with awareness, as though the house itself anticipated their arrival. Inside, the air carried faint traces of lavender detergent, wood polish, and something subtler, a scent Axel reacted to immediately. The dog's posture changed. He moved ahead, sniffing deeply, paw steps silent on the hardwood floor. Ethan locked the door behind them. He didn't turn on the main lights, only a lamp by the window. His voice came low, almost a whisper. "Show me, boy." Axel moved toward the living room first. His tail remained parallel to the floor, neither comfort nor alarm. His nose skimmed the floor, tracing paths of evidence invisible to human senses. Ethan followed with careful steps. Axel stopped near the fireplace, a polished stone hearth with a mantel decorated with family photos. One photo caught Ethan's eye. Lily, smiling shyly in her winter coat last year. Sabrina's hand rested on Lily's shoulder in the photo, gentle, nearly maternal. But seeing it now, in this context, the image felt posed, composed, almost curated. Axel sniffed the base of the trash bin near the sofa. Ethan kneeled, opened the lid, old packaging, tissues, papers, then buried beneath, a small empty bottle of pediatric allergy medication. The label was torn, the cap was missing. Ethan exhaled slowly. Lily's meds. Axel's ears flicked, as though affirming. Ethan bagged the bottle into an evidence pouch. old habits from his policing days. He stood. "What else, Axel?" The German shepherd moved on, past the hallway, past the dining table, toward the staircase. His pace was slow, deliberate. At the foot of the stairs, Axel paused, nostrils flaring. His eyes lifted up toward the darkened second floor. Ethan spoke softly. "Take me." They climbed together, Ethan with heavy steps, Axel moving like smoke. At the top of the stairs, the house branched into 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a small office. Axel walked straight to the office door, closed, and sat. Ethan's pulse tightened. He reached for the doorknob. It was locked. Axel's body went rigid. Ethan retrieved a small keyring from his pocket. He kept one master key for the house. He unlocked the office. Inside, the space felt cold despite heating vents. A modest desk stood beneath the window, papers neatly stacked, bills, Lily's school documents, a shelf holding books, parenting manuals, self-help titles, financial planners. Nothing seemed immediately amiss. Axel didn't agree. He padded across the room to the corner, where a baby monitor base sat plugged into the wall. Not unusual. They had installed it primarily for nighttime safety, to monitor Lily when she was younger, but Axel fixated on it. He stared with eerie intensity. Ethan moved to the desk. There, he saw the paired handheld monitor, the portable receiver, lying face down, and beside it, a tiny memory card. His breath caught. He picked it up carefully. A recording card. He inserted it into the monitor receiver slot. His thumb hovered over the playback button. Axel lay down beside him, alert. Ethan pressed play. At first there was crackling, just static. Then the audio clarified. Lily's thin voice came through, faint, scared. "Please, please, stop." Then Sabrina's voice, tense, rushed, almost through gritted teeth. "Just take it. It's fine. You're being dramatic." Lily coughing. Then, "I can't, Mommy, please, I can't breathe." Sabrina again, voice sharp. "You're not dying. Stop this." Ethan paused the playback. His eyes burned, not with tears, but a hot surge of restrained rage. Axel gave a low, guttural growl, the kind that came from deep distrust, not aggression. Ethan's voice was barely audible. She ignored her. She dismissed her fear. He rewound 10 seconds, played again. "Lily, I'm scared." Sabrina, "Then stop crying and eat it. I made it for you." Then, more coughing, choking gasps. Lily gasping like a fish yanked from water. Ethan's hand clenched into a fist. He shut off the monitor. The quiet in the office was suffocating. He stood, walked to Sabrina's side of the office, her printing station, a drawer closed. He opened it. Inside lay a medical pamphlet on child respiratory distress, a half-written list of chores for Lily, sticky notes with harsh phrases written, then scratched out, "Behave," "Stop crying," "Gratitude," and at the bottom, an old note Ethan recognized. It was the letter Sabrina had once written to a therapist, months before Lily arrived, when Sabrina had been trying to complete a foster parent evaluation program. The letter revealed insecurity. It read, "I'm not naturally nurturing. Sometimes emotions irritate me. I want to be a good parent, but I need structure. I need obedience." Ethan closed the drawer slowly. He understood now. Sabrina wasn't a sadist. She wasn't a monster. She was someone who required control, and Lily's fear and panic triggered her impatience rather than compassion. A psychological failing, not necessarily a conscious cruelty, but harm is harm. Axel rose again and moved to Ethan, brushing against his leg. Ethan knelt beside him. "You knew," he whispered, "even before I did." Axel placed his head against Ethan's chest. They stayed like that for a moment, man and dog sharing a silent communion of understanding. Then Ethan spoke aloud, not to Axel, but to the empty room. "Tomorrow we take this to Karen, and then Sabrina will face the consequences." As they descended the stairs, Ethan glanced back at the office, where the monitor still sat, holding hours of truth. Snow continued tapping faintly at the windows. Outside, wind moved through frozen branches like whispers. Ethan shut off the lights and locked the door. This house, once a sanctuary, now felt like evidence. Aspen Ridge did not rush into morning. It thawed into it. The sun did not rise boldly. It seeped slowly into the valley, turning the snow from blue-gray to muted silver. By the time Ethan stepped outside with Axel at his side, the world looked like a letter opened but not yet read. The car engine hummed in the still air. Frost clung to the windshield in branching patterns, and Ethan wiped them away with a gloved hand. Axel sat in the passenger seat, upright, chest forward, eyes forward, ready. Today was not about suspicion. Today was about proof. The drive through town was quiet, storefronts closed, delivery trucks slowly edging through slush. Ethan made his way toward the Child Welfare and Family Services building, a brick structure softened by snow, its windows warm with lamplight. He parked, exiting the vehicle with steady purpose, Axel trotting beside him like a knight's companion. Inside the lobby, the warmth was almost startling. A heater pumped out heavy air. A receptionist greeted him, Dennis Rollins, mid-20s, tall and thin, with lanky movements and a friendly manner. He recognized Ethan. "She's expecting you. Go right in." Karen Rhodes' office was tucked in the back. Karen was in her early 60s, a woman shaped by decades of child advocacy. She had silver-streaked hair pulled into a bun and a face lined by empathy rather than age. Her eyes held the weight of countless stories: children rescued, families mended, painful truths excavated. Ethan entered. Karen looked first at him, then at Axel, then at the folder in Ethan's hand. Her voice was low. "You found something." Ethan simply nodded. She gestured to the chairs. Ethan sat. Axel sat at his feet, close but still. Karen folded her hands on the desk. "Tell me." Ethan took a slow breath. "I found Lily's allergy medication in the trash. Sabrina threw it away instead of using it." Karen nodded slightly, but wasn't persuaded yet. "That alone isn't enough." "No," Ethan agreed, "but there's more." He set the baby monitor and the memory card on her desk. Karen's eyes sharpened, like old steel waking. Ethan explained, "There's audio from the night Lily collapsed. You'll hear Lily's voice, terrified, and Sabrina restraining her, holding her too tightly when she couldn't breathe, and dismissing her distress as dramatics." Karen didn't speak. She moved, reaching slowly for her reading glasses, like a judge preparing for testimony. She inserted the memory card into her computer and played the file. Lily's voice filled the room, weak, confused, in distress. Please no. I'm scared." Sabrina's tone followed, impatient, exasperated. "Stop it. You're fine. Eat it." Then Lily choking, rasping, gasping for air. The sound of a child dying inside a hug. Karen stopped the recording halfway. Silence. She removed the glasses, placed them on the desk with care. Then she said softly, but with utter certainty, "Ethan, this is child endangerment and emotional negligence. This isn't an accident. It's a pattern of disregard for her safety. We must act." She reached for the phone, dialing the police department directly. "Send 2 officers and a custody transfer specialist to my office," she said. "We're initiating emergency protective actions." Ethan exhaled, not relief yet, but movement. Progress. Axel shifted, sensing the change in mood, tail tapping once against the chair leg. 20 minutes later, 2 uniformed officers arrived. One was Corporal Dana Walsh, late 30s, sturdy build, known for calm professionalism. The other was Officer Glenn Avery, young, eager, earnest. They listened as Karen briefed them. Karen then turned to Ethan. "I need to ask, is Sabrina at home right now?" Ethan nodded. "She should be. I told her Lily was staying for further observation, so she went home." Karen stood. "Then that's where the arrest will happen." They drove in 2 vehicles, Ethan following behind the police cruiser. Karen rode with the officers. Axel rode with Ethan, silent, solemn. When they reached the house, the sun had risen fully, pale gold over the snowfields. The house stood still, unaware of the storm about to walk through its walls. The officers approached the door. Ethan stayed back, but Axel stood by his side, gaze fixed. Karen knocked. A muffled voice responded. "Just a minute." The door opened. Sabrina appeared, hair unkempt, sweater wrinkled, face tired. She was clearly expecting Ethan, not police. Her expression cracked. "What's going on?" Karen's tone was controlled and firm. "Sabrina Hayes Merrick, based on evidence of direct physical endangerment and neglect of a minor child, you are being taken into custody." Sabrina froze. She laughed once, a brittle defensive laugh. "This is insane. I didn't hurt her. This is all dramatized. You're twisting everything." Corporal Walsh stepped forward. "Ma'am, place your hands behind your back." Sabrina's voice rose, sharper, desperate. "Ethan, tell them! You know I didn't—" This time Ethan did speak, voice heavy but steady. "Lily was afraid of you. That's all I need to know." Something broke in Sabrina then. Not pride, but denial. Her face drained of color. "I was trying to teach her not to exaggerate. Kids cry about everything. I didn't mean—" Karen answered gently, but firmly. "Intent does not erase harm." Officer Avery cautiously secured the handcuffs, Sabrina flinching at their cold touch. Tears leaked from her eyes, mascara absent today, so they were raw, unfiltered. "You're destroying my life," she whispered. Ethan looked at her, eyes steady, sadness, not hatred. "You risked my daughter's life," he replied. Sabrina was escorted to the police car. The door shut. The engine started. Snow churned under tires as they drove away. Karen exhaled, her breath misting in the cold air. She looked at Ethan. "I'm sorry for the pain of this. But Lily is safe now." Ethan nodded, the words carrying weight. Axel pressed gently against his leg. Loyalty embodied. As they walked back to Ethan's car, Karen spoke quietly. "Next comes the guardianship hearing. It will be straightforward, given what we have." Ethan looked toward the horizon, winter clouds parting, revealing vast skies. "It won't fix everything," he said. "Lily still remembers the fear." Karen nodded solemnly. "Healing isn't the instant part. Safety is." Axel hopped back into the passenger seat. Ethan drove them back to the hospital. The rest of the afternoon passed in slow hours. When Ethan told Lily that Sabrina wouldn't be coming back, the child's eyes didn't light with triumph, only relief. Axel rested beside her bed, steady as stone, gaze soft as embers. Outside the window, snow began falling again, slow, silent flakes. Ethan imagined the earth beneath receiving them, covering old prints, erasing old marks, allowing new ones to be made. Justice had begun its path, not loudly, not dramatically, but steadily, like snow accumulating into a blanket. Aspen Ridge Family Advocacy Center was a building of warm wood and muted lighting, intentionally gentle, designed so children would never feel like they were in a courtroom or interrogation facility. Walls were decorated with soft landscapes, framed drawings from local kids, and shelves carrying plush toys, bears, rabbits, owls. A quiet reassurance that this was a safe place. Ethan stood in the observation room, behind a one-way glass window. On the other side of the glass was the interview room, small and softly lit, with a round table, 2 chairs, and a basket of stuffed animals. The room's flooring was carpeted, not hard laminate, so footsteps would be muted, comforting. Even Axel sensed the tone of the place. He lay on the floor beside Ethan, calm but vigilant, ears perked every time Lily moved on the other side of the glass. And there was Lily, sitting with a little fox plush in her hands. Her hair had been tied back with a soft yellow ribbon. She wore a sweater with embroidered stars on it, something that had always made her feel brave. A child interview specialist sat across from her, Dr. Evelyn Marsh, a woman in her early 40s, thin and elegant, with a gentle musical voice. Evelyn had spent years working with traumatized children. Her approach was not interrogation, it was permission. She waited, listened, invited truth to step forward without force. Evelyn spoke first, her tone like a warm blanket. "Lily, if at any moment you need a break, you just tell me, okay? We're here to listen, not to rush." Lily nodded. She clutched the plush fox closer. Ethan watched. His heart felt suspended, not beating normally, just hanging in quiet, aching beats. Marshall Crane stood beside him, arms folded, watching with equal focus, and next to him, Karen Rhodes stood with her hands clasped at her waist, a steady guardian of the process. Evelyn continued, "Can you tell me about that night? The night you had trouble breathing?" Lily's voice was small, but real. "I didn't want to eat the dessert. I didn't like it. I told her I didn't want it." Evelyn nodded gently. "You did the right thing by telling her. And then, what happened?" Lily looked down at her hands, then back up. It took courage for her to hold eye contact. "She got frustrated. She said I was being dramatic. She said I always make things big." Her hands tightened around the fox toy. "And she held me. She squeezed me too hard. I cried and said I couldn't breathe." Her voice quivered like a leaf trembling in wind. "But she said I was exaggerating. She didn't stop." Evelyn allowed silence for a moment, honoring the gravity. "And how did that make you feel?" Lily's eyes welled. "I thought I would die." Ethan pressed a fist against his lips. His breath shook. Axel, sensing Ethan's emotional surge, placed a paw gently against Ethan's foot, grounding him. Evelyn leaned forward slightly, voice soft. "Thank you for telling me that. You're very brave. What you felt, the fear, is important." Lily's breathing steadied. Then Evelyn asked, "Has anything like this ever happened before? Maybe smaller moments where you felt afraid or hurt?" Lily paused. "Yes," she whispered. "Sometimes when I cry, she says I'm weak. Sometimes she says I make problems on purpose. Sometimes if I try to tell her I'm scared, she gets angrier." Her hands trembled. "But Daddy always listens to me, even when I can't finish the sentence." Ethan's eyes closed briefly. Overwhelmed, Marshall spoke quietly beside him. "She trusts you, more than anything." Inside the room, Evelyn continued. "Lily, what do you want to happen now? Do you want to live somewhere else? Do you want to feel safe? What do you hope for?" Lily hugged the fox. I want to stay with Daddy and with Axel. I feel safe with them." Axel's ears flicked at his name, like a soldier hearing a command. Evelyn smiled softly. "That's wonderful, and I'm so glad you said that. Everyone here, all these adults behind the scenes, we are going to help make sure that happens." Lily breathed, a release of tension she had held for so long. Ethan could feel her relief like a warm light. Evelyn then asked, "Does it help to talk about this? Or does it make you feel scared?" Lily considered it. "It makes me remember, but also, I don't feel alone now, so it's okay." Evelyn nodded. "That's very important. Memory with safety is healing. You're doing amazingly," Karen whispered to Ethan. Her words alone are enough to secure full custody. Ethan exhaled, but Lily wasn't done. She said softly, almost in a hush, "I loved her. I wanted her to like me. I tried to be good. But every time I was scared, she said I was too sensitive. I started thinking maybe I really was annoying." Evelyn's voice deepened with gentle conviction. "You were never the problem, Lily. Your feelings matter. Your voice matters. Your fear matters. None of this was your fault." Lily wiped her eyes. She whispered, "I'm glad Daddy believed me." Axel whined softly, tail thumping once. Ethan felt something shift inside him, a knot loosening. Evelyn finished the interview by asking Lily if she needed anything, and Lily simply said, "Can Axel come in?" Evelyn smiled. "Of course." Ethan opened the door, and Axel trotted into the room with a kind of quiet dignity. Lily reached out, burying her hands in his fur, pressing her cheek against his neck. Axel responded by leaning into her gently, a steady, grounding warmth, and Lily laughed, the kind of laugh that only returns once fear begins to leave. Ethan stepped in behind Axel. He knelt before his daughter and embraced her, gently, so gently, as if holding something sacred. "No one will ever dismiss your feelings again," he whispered. Lily nodded, tears mixed with a soft smile. Marshall entered next, speaking kindly. "Lily, you did something very important today. You helped the truth come out." Lily looked up. "Did I really?" Karen smiled warmly. "Yes, you did. Lily took a long breath, then exhaled. She was lighter now, and outside, through the windows, snow continued to fall, not oppressive, but peaceful, like cleansing flakes softening old wounds, purifying the world beneath them. 2 weeks later, the snow around Aspen Ridge had begun to soften, not melt, not yet, but loosen. The edges of ice on rooftops dripped when touched by sunlight, and pathways were carved through snowbanks by the steady boots of daily life. It was on such a quiet, pale morning that Ethan walked up the courthouse steps with Axel on his left, and Lily's small hand wrapped in his right. The courthouse was a building of solemn timber architecture, tall windows, hushed halls, polished oak floors. The smell of paper, ink, and cold winter air mixed together into something restrained and official. Ethan was dressed simply, clean blue shirt, dark jacket, hair combed neatly. Lily wore a soft cream dress with a cardigan and winter boots. And Axel. Axel walked with the calm confidence of a soldier entering a duty station. Nothing more, nothing less. Inside the courtroom, people quietly gathered. Dr. Keene was present, solemn, hands folded. Nurse Rosa sat nearby, thoughtful, warm eyes ready to support. Marshal Crane wore his badge, but not his uniform hat, out of respect for the seriousness of child welfare cases. Karen Rhodes sat closest to the front, paperwork meticulously prepared. Across the aisle, Sabrina was escorted in. She wore a plain gray sweater, jeans, and no makeup. Her blonde hair was pulled back loosely. She looked smaller, not physically, but emotionally, as if the winds of the past weeks had sanded her edges down. She sat with her attorney, a calm, middle-aged public defender named Harold Briggs. Gentle voice, steady posture. The presiding judge, Margaret Holloway, entered. Judge Holloway was a woman in her late 50s, dignified, tall, with a stern but fair presence. Her hair was streaked with gray, tied in a low bun, and her gaze was penetrating, like someone who had heard every shape of lie and every shape of truth that humanity could produce. All rise. Everyone stood, then sat. Judge Holloway spoke. This hearing concerns the legal custody and welfare of Lily Merrick, aged 8, and the matter of endangerment charges brought against Sabrina Hayes Merrick. Her voice was firm, but not harsh. She looked at Sabrina. Ms. Hayes Merrick, you have reviewed the evidence brought against you, including medical findings, audio recordings, and direct testimony. Your counsel has indicated consideration of plea acknowledgement. Before we continue, do you wish to address the court? Sabrina swallowed. Her voice shook. I want to say I never intended to hurt Lily. I was overwhelmed. I was teaching her to be strong. I thought she was exaggerating her feelings. I didn't understand how scared she truly was. I accept responsibility. She lowered her eyes. I am guilty of negligence. It was not defiant. It was not manipulative. It was a quiet admission, as if she had finally stopped running from herself. The judge nodded slowly, acknowledged. Then the court called for testimonies. Dr. Keene approached the stand first. He explained the physical findings, the signs of oxygen restriction, the bruising consistent with forceful restraint. Then Nurse Rosa spoke, recalling Lily arriving twice in prior months, and the pattern of Sabrina not being present during emergency visits unless required. Marshal Crane confirmed the integrity of audio evidence, and then Judge Holloway looked toward Ethan. Mr. Merrick, please approach. Ethan rose and walked forward. He placed his hand on the Bible out of habit, though his faith was quieter and inward, and promised to tell the truth. Judge Holloway asked gently, Did you have any prior indicators that Lily was being mistreated under Sabrina's care? Ethan spoke calmly, voice steady. I thought they were simply adjusting to each other. Lily never cried to me about Sabrina. She tried to be good. She tried to earn approval. He paused. I failed to see how much she feared disappointing her. The judge listened carefully. And what is your intention, moving forward? I intend to raise Lily myself. My only priority is her safety and emotional well-being. And Axel? Judge Holloway asked lightly, almost curious. Ethan allowed the smallest smile. Axel is part of this family. He's Lily's protector. He will remain so. There was a small murmur of approval from several spectators. Judge Holloway nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Merrick. You may step back." Finally, Judge Holloway turned to Lily. "Would the child like to speak?" "Only if she wishes." Lily asked something softly to Ethan. He nodded. She walked to the stand. Axel rose and followed, sitting at her feet. Judge Holloway softened, visibly, at the sight. Lily's voice trembled, but she spoke. "I was scared. I couldn't breathe. I said so, but she didn't hear me. I begged, and she thought I was being dramatic. I wasn't." She paused, a tear slipping down. "But Daddy believes me, and Axel does too, and I feel safe again." Then, in a small but growing voice, "I want to stay with Daddy." The judge didn't interrupt. She let silence hold the truth. Then she said, "Thank you, Lily. You are very brave." Lily returned to Ethan. Axel touched her hand with his muzzle. After reviewing all evidence and testimonies, Judge Holloway delivered final judgment. Given the medical reports, audio evidence, and child testimony, this court grants full and permanent custody of Lily Merrick to her father, Ethan Merrick. Lily squeezed Ethan's hand hard. Judge Holloway continued. Furthermore, in recognition of Axel, the canine German Shepherd whose alert instincts contributed significantly to the uncovering of this situation, the court acknowledges him as an official family protection canine. His role is noted with respect. Axel didn't know the meaning of the words, but he saw Ethan's expression soften and felt Lily's joyful energy, and his tail wagged, slow and steady. As for Sabrina, Judge Holloway announced, "Ms. Hayes Merrick, due to your admittance of negligence, your sentence will be reduced. You will undergo parental counseling and psychological evaluation. You are restricted from physical contact with Lily, though supervised written communication may be permitted in future, depending on progress." Sabrina nodded, tears falling freely now. She turned once, looking at Lily, truly looking at her, not as a child to manage, but a child she had failed to understand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Lily didn't respond. She simply held tightly to Ethan's arm. After adjournment, people began leaving the courtroom. Outside, the sky had begun to brighten, clouds parting, sunlight reflecting off the white terrain in shy golden tones. Ethan knelt on the courthouse steps. Lily ran into his arms, small and bright and safe. Axel circled around them, tail tracing arcs in snow, paw prints spiraling like runic symbols of loyalty. A new season had begun. Winter hadn't fully gone, but spring had sent its first gentle messenger. A beam of sun lit Lily's hair. Ethan whispered, "You'll never be afraid again." Lily leaned her cheek against his shoulder, and Axel, ever watchful, stood guard. In the quiet closing of this story, we are reminded that the miracles of God do not always arrive with thunder or bright signs. Sometimes they come through the loyalty of a dog who refused to ignore danger, through the courage of a child who spoke truth even through fear, and through the quiet strength God places in ordinary hearts. In our everyday lives, we all face moments of worry, doubt, or uncertainty. But God walks beside us even then, guiding our steps, opening the right doors, and sending help in ways we may not always recognize at first. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who may need encouragement today. Leave a comment to tell us your thoughts, and type Amen if you believe in the gentle miracles that God sends. May God bless you and your loved ones with peace, protection, and warmth in every season of life. And please remember to support the channel by pressing subscribe so we can continue bringing stories of hope, faith, and healing to you and many others.